Hi, good morning, and welcome to the Djuli webinar. So we like to do this webinar every Tuesday at about 8 a.m. London time. We've gone a little bit early this morning, but it's really just answering questions that have come in from users of Djuli or potential users of Djuli for the week. So let me jump straight into it and say the biggest thing about Djuli this week is we are going to have a live demo webinar today at so today is the 24th of November, and at 4 p.m. London time there is a live streaming webinar which I hope people will be able to attend, and we will be doing live demos there. But just to say, Djuli's obviously, we're going to discuss, it's got a data storage capability, so Djuli is set up for the storage and analysis of electrochemical data. So with Djuli, we also can sort of visualize data. So if it's cyclophotometry or impedance spectroscopy, we can also use Djuli for that. Data processing, filtering noisy data, which is a webinar, that we did recently. And also data acquisition. Data acquisition can be through lab experiments. So we have something called the EMMA potentiostat, which feeds into Djuli. And we also have our Sensi-All platform that also feeds into Djuli, which I will cover today. And then we also have an API. So this is an application program interface, so that something that's otherwise in Djuli and being processed through Djuli can be pulled into somebody else's cloud by what's called an API call. Djuli really kind of unifies data and the presentation of data and also the sharing of data, because the biggest thing that kind of goes on in biosensor and sensor development is kind of questions like, where is my data? And then it's not easy to always retrieve the data, that means find the data, and it's certainly not easy to share the data, and Djuli really does help with those things, if I can put it that way. It's worth knowing that you can sign up for Djuli for free. There's a sort of freemium and a premium version. There are limitations in terms of you can have unlimited reports with premium, but that's not the case with freemium. The tools, so you can actually get it. If you want to play and find out what Djuli can do, then both versions work. Same for exporting reports. You can export data. You can export PDFs. You can export Excel spreadsheets. So both of those features are in both versions. Templates, which is really useful, so that people talk about scalability these days. Essentially, if you've come up with a report and you want, or a way of processing data, and you always want that to happen, then Djuli allows you to create templates, and that is available in the premium version. AC just means that Djuli can deal with discrete data, and it can also amperometric data. It can also deal with potentiometric data. Both versions do, and also generic data as well. It should be worth saying that even though Djuli is set up as an electrochemical data management system, in the end, it's just looking at columns of data. So it doesn't actually matter whether the columns of data are current versus time or absorption versus wavelength. It really doesn't matter, which probably is significant later on. You can download your raw data, you can download your reports, you can delete reports in the premium, but that's not the case with freemium. So freemium, it kind of, will get you going, but unfortunately you can soon fill it up. You can make new projects in both, but it's limited in the freemium. You can edit reports in premium. You can create clusters in premium, and then you can do a degree of comparative reports in freemium. Comparative reports. Now, as Zimmer Peacock, one of the things we do is we make the world, by far one of the world's best screen printed electrodes, and we do this because we do a lot of testing, and it's this comparative report that allows us to compare batch to batch. I'll go a little bit faster. So it does answer the question, Djuli, where's my data? So somebody's in a lab, they've gathered some sort of electrochemical data, and then we can store that data up into Djuli and view it remotely. Which, to be honest with you, in this sort of modern day of remote working, actually, this viewing of data is even more important. And as I say, if you're going to be remotely working sometimes, then where is my data is important. And if it's in the cloud, it really aids with remote working. It's very good at analyzing data. So here I've got some voltammograms, and you can tell Djuli, look in this region, and it will find your peaks for you. and then it will extract like the mean height, the standard deviation, the relative standard deviation, the median, the min, the max. So these kind of statistical analysis, Djuli is able to look at this data and just essentially pull that out. I'll come back to this in a bit, where we can actually do sort of criteria and ask questions of the data. Is my peak-to-peak separation right? Is my peak-to-peak height correct? So you can ask questions of that data. In this experiment, somebody's actually doing voltammetry as a function of scan rate, and Djuli would allow you to essentially automate that and get the peak height versus scan rate out of that. Here in voltammetry, I think this is more important for biosensor developers, is my signal versus concentration. And so here we have a series of voltammograms, and you can tell Djuli, look at this region and give me the straight line or the linear fit between signal versus concentration. And also at ZP, we do another kind of experiment where actually we're often creating glucose sensors or enzyme sensors. And this just reminds me that we do a lot of workshops, a lot of in-person workshops. So if you're interested in an in-person workshop, just know that we do hold them approximately a couple of months. And there actually everyone gets to make one of these kind of, for example, glucose sensors. And, we sort of generate, I'm just going to run through this very quickly, where we end up generating signal versus current in these particular experiments. And when people then go into the lab, we do this where actually they get a signal versus increasing concentration, and Djuli then allows us to actually automate that analysis. This is something that we use a lot in production. We'll make large amounts of electrodes, and we'll obviously do quality control on this. And so we will test the peak-to-peak heights, and we'll also make sure that there's, this is actually the peak-to-peak, I would say, separation. Make sure that peak-to-peak separation is good. And we'll also do peak-to-peak height with this, is what this is. And make sure that the peak-to-peak height has got the correct intensity. We do have something called API, an application program interface. This allows really us to plug in and work with third parties so they can make API calls upon us. And so we do have a whole, let's say, bunch of APIs available. And we also have something called the Sense It All platform. Sense It All platform originally just had an electrochemical module to it, but now it has a spectrochemical module to it. So what this means is that at ZP, these modules, these are really OEM solutions, original equipment manufacturers. So original equipment manufacturer is a kind of term. If you're the entrepreneur of the business, then you're really the brand owner. And then if ZP were providing technologies into you, we might be the OEM supplier at that point. So we have a couple of solutions. One of them is for spectrochemical. It's basically a spectrometer. And then one of them is an electrochemical platform. And it's the electrochemical platform that we're sort of synonymous for, but we're also now counting photons as well as electrons. I'll let this play here, but I just want to emphasize that the Sense It All platform, I did say that Djuli could receive data. So this is the idea here. So somebody has left their R&D phase, has got into their kind of development commercialization phase. They could have a sensor or they could have a optical assay. We're quite happy to work with both. If it's the sensor, then we have the electrochemical Sense It All, and if it's the optical assay, then it's the spectrochemical Sense It All. After that point, everything becomes the same because we have our app, and everything becomes the same because we have Djuli. So in fact, what happens is the sensors or the assays work with the hardware. The samples are put into the hardware. The app tells either one of these pieces of hardware how to function. The hardware gives the data back to the app, and the app passes the data to Djuli, where it's actually turned into numbers, and then those numbers or values come back to the app. So it's quite an elegant sort of platform. If you want to know more about Sense It All, there is a link here, and I should say that any links that I've put up today will also appear underneath this video as well, so you should be able to find those. So this is a thank you. So as I say, our commitment to Djuli is that if you're a Djuli user and you have any questions that come in for the week, then you all come in. We will gather those and we will answer them in these webinars. So if, as I say, any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Okay, thanks very much.